The Little Prince, Chapter 3 and 4. It took me a long time to discover where he came from. The little prince, who asked me so many questions, seemed never to hear the ones I asked him. It was from chance words, dropped here and there, that all was revealed to me. For instance, when he noticed my airplane for the first time, "I am not going to draw my airplane. It would be far too complicated for me," he said. "What is that thing over there?" "That is not a thing. It flies. It's an airplane. It's my airplane." And I was so proud to have him know that I could fly. At which he cried out, "What? So you fell from the sky?" "Yes," I answered demurely. "Well, how very funny." And the little prince broke into a charming peal of laughter, which I found greatly irritating, for I like my misfortunes to be taken seriously. Then he added, "You too, then. Come from the sky. Which planet are you from?" Suddenly I had a glimmer of understanding into the mystery of his presence here, and I quizzed him sharply. "So you come from another planet?" But he made no reply. He merely shook his head gently, looking all the while at my airplane. "No, you can't have come very far on that thing." And he fell into the long reverie. Then, taking my drawing out of his pocket, he became absorbed in the contemplation of his treasure. You can imagine how intrigued I was by this half-confidence about other planets. I did my utmost, therefore, to find out more. "Where are you from, then, little fellow?" "Where is this where I live that you mention?" "Where do you want to take my sheep?" After a reflective silence, he answered, "The best thing about the box you've given me is that at night he can use it at his house." "Of course, and if you're good, I will give you a rope to tether him with during the day, and a post to tether him to." This proposal seemed to shock the little prince. "Tether him? What an odd idea! But if you don't tether him, he may go anywhere and end up lost." And my friend burst out laughing once more. "But where do you imagine he would go?" "Anywhere, straight ahead of him." At which the little prince remarked solemnly, "That won't matter. Where I come from is so very small." Then, with perhaps a hint of sadness, he added, "Straight ahead does not take anyone very far." From this, I learned the second fact of great importance. The planet that he came from was scarcely bigger than a house. This was no great surprise to me. I knew very well then, beside the important planets, Earth, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, and so on, to which names have been given, there are also hundreds of others, some so small that one has trouble finding them even through the telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of these, he gives it a number instead of a name, so he might call it, for instance, Asteroid 3251. I have good reason to believe that the planet from which the little prince came is the asteroid known as B612. This asteroid has only once been seen through the telescope by a Turkish astronomer in 1909. At the time, this astronomer made a grand presentation of his discovery before an international congress of astronomy. But since he was wearing Turkish national costume, nobody would believe him. Grown-ups are like that. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid. B612, a Turkish dictator ordered his subjects on pain of death to convert to European dress. In 1920, our astronomer repeated his demonstration wearing elegant evening dress. This time everyone accepted his proofs. The reason I have told you so much about the asteroid B612 and let you know its number is because of grown-ups. Grown-ups love figures. When you describe a new friend to them, they never ask you about the important things. They never say, "What's his voice like? What are his favorite games? Does he collect butterflies?" Instead, they demand, "How old is he? How many brothers has he? How much does he weigh? How much does his father earn?" Or then do they feel they know him? If you say to the grown-ups, "I've seen a lovely house made of pink brick with journeymans in the windows and doves on the roof," they're unable to picture such a house. You must say, "I saw a house that cost 100,000 francs." Then they cry out, "Oh, how pretty!" Again, you might say to them, the proof that the little prince existed is that he was enchanting, that he laughed, and that he was looking for a sheep. When someone wants the sheep, it is a proof that they exist. The grown-ups will merely shrug their shoulders and treat you like a child. But if you tell them the planet he came from is asteroid B612, then they'll be convinced and will spare you all their questions. That is how they are. You must not hold it against them. Children have their very indulgent towards grown-ups. Of course, for we who understand life, figures are quite unimportant. I would have liked to begin the story in the manner of a fairy tale. I would have liked to write, once upon a time there was a little prince who lived on the earth scarcely bigger than himself, and who in need of a friend. To those who understand life, that would have a much greater air of truth. You see, I do not want my story to be taken lightly. I have suffered so much grief setting down these memories. Already 6 years have passed since my friend went away, along with his sheep. If I try to describe him here, it is so not as to forget him. To forget a friend is sad. Not everyone has had a friend, and if I do forget him, I might become like those grown-ups who no longer care for anything except figures. It is for this reason, too, that I have bought a paint box and some pencils. It is hard to take up drawings again at my age when the only attempts you have ever made were of the boa constrictor from the outside and the boa constrictor from the inside when you were 6 years old. Of course, I shall try to make my portraits as true to life as I can, but I'm not at all sure of succeeding. Some drawings work. Others do not. Sometimes my proportions are wrong. Here the little prince is too big. There he is too little. Other times I waver over the colors of his clothes, and so I fumble along trying this and that, as best I can. I may even make mistakes as to more important details. But there you must forgive me. You see, my friend never gave explanations. Perhaps he thought I was like him, but I unfortunately am not able to see sheep through the walls of boxes. Perhaps I am a bit of grown-up after all. I must be getting old.